Hello and welcome to today's live English lesson here on the AM Language YouTube channel with me, Richie. I hope you're all doing well. If this is your first time, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And in today's lesson, we're going to look at the top 10 best places to live in the world. And we'll develop some parts of our language as well, such as using modal verbs a little bit and comparisons. But today's more about the discussion than the grammar. Where's my water? There it is. Hello, Irina F. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's lesson. I hope you're doing well. And привет. So I'll wait for more people to arrive to join the lesson before I start. Leondina, good afternoon. Buono pomeriggio. Welcome to today's lesson. Thank you for joining. I hope you're doing well. Yesterday, what did we do yesterday? I can't remember what we do from one day to the next at times. Yesterday, I think we looked at how to use tend to, and we used, yes, eating habits. It was to do with tend to and using the second conditional as well. Today is about the top 10 places in the world. The best places to live in the world, actually, should I say. Tomorrow is more of a grammar day where we're going to look at which modal verb do I use. Thursday is going to be business English email tips, and Friday is film English meaning and context. So that's what you guys can expect. But yeah, the top 10 places to live in the world. Let me know if you've lived in lots of different places. You can just give me a number. I have, in terms of countries, I have lived in for at least a period of time. So if you've lived in a country for at least 3 months, you can say you've lived in that country. We'll make that the rule. In which case, I have lived in. I've lived in England. I've lived in Malta. I've lived in Italy, and I lived in Ireland. So I can say I've lived in 4 places. Good afternoon, Alida, or buenos dias, where you are in the world. So yes, I can say I've lived in 4 places. So feel free to tell me in the live chat how many countries you've lived in. In terms of cities, oh gosh, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I would say 7 cities. I think I've lived in 7 different cities in my life. Leondina has said, no, I've never lived abroad. Fair enough, Leondina. But like I said, if you've stayed in a place for 3 months or more, you can say you've lived in that place based on today's lesson. I've lived in, actually, no, maybe 8 places, actually. I've just realized, no, 8 places. Alida says she's only lived in Argentina. Have you always lived in the same place, though, in Argentina? Or have you lived in any different places? Have you moved around at all? Or has it always been the same area? Some of my favorite places, I would say my favorite place in the UK was Brighton. Favorite place in Italy was Florence. Malta is just Malta. It's a very small place, so we'll just say Malta. But where I lived in Malta, well, where I live in Malta is nice. And I can also say Dublin. Alida says that she was born in Buenos Aires and that she's lived in Patagonia since she was 5. Irina F says that she's only ever lived in Russia. Fair enough. Let us know. Let me know. Let us know actually what places you've lived in Russia. Has it always been the same place, or have you moved around? Now, my sister has lived. One of my sisters has lived in. She's lived in a lot of places. She's always lived really in the UK. I think she spent some time in Germany once, but within the UK, I think she's lived in. I think it must be at least 15 different places. She's moved around a lot. Um, okay. So, yeah, we're going to look at the top 10 best places to live in the world as a whole. So this could be an interesting. This could be interesting. I should say that this is in terms of this is this is an American article. So there's a saying in English. We can take it with a pinch of salt. So if you take something with a pinch of salt, it means sure, some things may be accurate, but let's be let's be cautious. For example, let's not be too quick to trust it. Okay. As an official thing. Alida says that she has a sister living in Edinburgh. Nice. And another sister living in Spain. Very nice. Two nice places. I forgot about Edinburgh. I've lived in Edinburgh myself. 9 places. Thank you very much. No, I've lived in Edinburgh as well. So yeah, I've lived in 9 different cities. I completely forgot that I spent a period of time in Scotland. Okay. So yeah, this I've taken from it's called U.S. News. Quality of life. Through all phases of life, these countries treated their citizens well. Scandinavian countries fared well, and as did Canada. That's my American accent. So yes, this is definitely going to be probably a little bit more towards the American market, but we will see. We can always disagree. Sandra says, "Hi, Richard. I have lived only in Germany, but in different places inside. I know what you mean, inside Germany." Alida says, "Which is your favorite place? Which is your favorite of those 9 places?" Great question, but an easy answer for me. I can't speak the language very well, but my favorite city that I've lived in is Florence in Italy, Firenze. That is a fantastic city. It's small, but it's amazing. It's a great place. One of my favorite. It's my favorites. It's my favorite city, not just in terms of a place that I've lived, but one of the best cities I think I've ever visited. I would, for instance, for me, it's better than New York. It's better than Sydney, Melbourne, um, better than Paris. For me, better than London. I would say for me, I prefer Florence to Rome. It's not that I didn't like Rome. I liked Rome, but I think there's something really special about Florence. Better than Dublin. I don't think there's a place in the UK personally that comes close. I mean, there are some really nice places in England. York is a lovely place. York is a lovely city. But yeah, I can't think of a place that I've been to that has had the same impact as Florence. That is a really fantastic city. I've lived in, no, I haven't lived. I have, sorry, visited. I've visited Milan and Venice as well. Very impressive cities, but there's something, what we would say, you know what it is? It has the X factor. Whatever the X factor is, Florence has it. It's that special factor that you get with being in Florence. It's probably something to do with the atmosphere. So we're going to have a little look, and you guys can come in and tell me what you think. We will have a little look at some language, not to worry. By the way, though, now I've received some requests for the time of the afternoon of this lesson to be moved from 3 o'clock to 4:30. So let me know if you all agree. Let me know about the time of 4:30. I've received quite a few requests that the time of the lesson is moved to 4:30. It might have something to do with change of clocks as well. That happened a month ago. So let me know about the 4:30 one, if that's okay. If how many of you agree with 4:30. Don't forget, though, guys, you can always watch the lesson afterwards as well. But as things currently stand, due to request, I am thinking next week. I am thinking that this lesson will be moved to 4:30 from next week. So I'll be intrigued to see what you guys think in the live chat section. But that's what I'm currently thinking of doing. Okay, so let's have a little look, and then we can have a little look. So number one. Now, I personally disagree with this. I have visited the place. Alida says, "I'm lost. What time is it now there?" Okay, in Malta at the moment it is it's 3:16. Okay, 3:15 p.m. in the afternoon. So if I were to move it to 4:30. I think I would be what? We'd be maybe 5 hours ahead, Alida. I'm not sure what the time is where you are in Patagonia. I have a feeling we might be something like 5 hours ahead. It might be 4 or 5 hours ahead at the moment. So yes, that's the time at the moment, 3:15. So then we would change it to 4:30. So the lesson would be from 4:30 to 5:15. Yeah, 5 hours earlier here. All right. Okay. So yeah, it would be around 11 or half 11 your time then, leader. So yeah, we're looking at this, and it's now number one on the list is Canada. Now, the reason being in Canada is that, well, I think it's got a few reasons for it. It seems that one of the reasons why they're basing this off is it's to do with a survey of how happy people are in their country, and as well as how enjoyable it is to live there. So number one on the list is Canada. So I'm first just going to tell you what their list is, and then we can talk about it. So number one on the list is Canada. Number two, I'm not surprised by this one. If you've ever been to this country, a lot of people do talk about this country a lot. Number two, Denmark. I've never been to Denmark, and I would like to go. Number three, Sweden. I don't know about this one. I've heard mixed things about Sweden. Again, I haven't been, and I would love to go. Sweden came in at number three. I'm not surprised to find Norway here, number four. Number five on their list is, oh, I'm not sure about this one. Now, I forgot. I have lived in Switzerland as well. It's 10 different cities I've lived in. I lived in for a few months. I lived in a couple of ski resorts in Switzerland. So I've lived in 10 places. So I can say for a period of time, I have lived in Switzerland. I have mixed feelings about this. Switzerland is an incredible place, but it is really expensive. Switzerland is very expensive. Outdoor activities, great, but I don't know. Australia came in at number 6. I don't know. Again, I have visited Australia and I traveled around Australia. I've been to the west coast, I've been to the middle of Australia, the outback, and I've been down most of the east coast. Australia is a cool place, but wait a minute. No way. Okay, its neighbor is further down on the list. And between Australia and New Zealand, I would have to say New Zealand would be higher on my list. But we'll see what you guys think. In seventh, depending on which word you like to use, which name, Holland or the Netherlands. Actually, it should be the Netherlands. The Netherlands is yes, this is one of the ones where you'll have a the before the name of the country. Um, Number 8, I am surprised to a certain extent. Finland. It's a very dark country for most of the year. 9, Germany. Sandra, what do you think about this one? And number 10 is New Zealand. So those are, according to this list, the top 10 best places to live in the world. They're basing it off so what we call the criteria is size of the country, population, GDP, and how happy their population is overall. So that's what they're trying to. That's what they're trying to base it off. But we'll see whether we agree with all of this. So let me know, out of those countries, if you, and if I'm bringing in a little bit of language from yesterday, and it's a second conditional. You lived in one of these countries, which one would it be? If you lived in one of these countries, which one would it be? So I've just introduced a second conditional. We looked at it yesterday. Don't forget, this is hypothetical. If you lived in one of these countries, which one would it be? For me, well, I've experienced quite a few. I would be tempted. For me personally, I would be tempted to go for New Zealand. It's such a fantastic country. The weather in Australia is better. That's true. I've never been to Germany, so I can't say about Germany. I've been to Holland. I enjoyed it. Actually, no, I did enjoy the Netherlands. I don't know if I would choose to live in Holland, though. I've never been to the Scandinavian countries, but if I had to choose a Scandinavian country, I would think of maybe Norway. Leondina says, I'm very surprised there isn't Italy. Maybe we have some problem, but undoubtedly it's a good place to live in. You know, I'm surprised as well. It probably has something more to do with, you know what, Leondina, I'm guessing the reason why Italy isn't there is probably more to do with, it probably has something to do with how happy people are with politics. And this has just occurred to me. If we look at these 10 countries politically, how many of them make the news on a regular basis for having serious problems in politics? I mean, you never hear anything about Switzerland, ever. Australia, I think Australia is the only one, and maybe Sweden, that I can say that you sometimes hear something about them politically. Germany, usually more on positive levels as well these days. So I don't know, maybe politics has something to do with that one, Leondina. But yeah, guys, let me know if you lived in a city, if you lived in a country, one of these 10 countries, which country would you live in? Like I said, I would go for New Zealand out of this list, out of the countries on this list. I don't like I can't say Germany because I haven't been to Germany, and I haven't been to the Scandinavian countries, or so I can't really say. I have been to Canada. I've been to Canada. Where did I visit? I visited. I mean, Vancouver's nice in Canada. I'll say that. Um, I don't know. I mean, Canada is always quite popular, but I am a bit surprised that Canada's number one. But at the same time, this is a US. This is from the US. This was conducted in the US, so maybe that's why. Because Canada is just next door to the US. Maybe it was just lazy thinking. Alida says that if I lived in one of these countries, I would go to Australia, the Netherlands, New Zealand, or Germany. I really don't enjoy cold. Okay, I see what you're saying there. So if you lived in one of these countries, you'd go to Australia because of the weather. The other countries like Holland, New Zealand, Germany might be a little bit too cold. And fair enough, they are. All of them are quite cold places. New Zealand can get quite hot, especially in the North Island, at the very north tip. That can get quite hot. But other than that, yes, you can have pretty cold weather in New Zealand. Weather does play a huge part. I think that's one of the. Where's my water? I think that's one of the difficult things at the moment, when you sometimes think to yourself, where do I want to live, but where are the good jobs? Because a lot of good jobs are in places where the weather is rubbish, or the weather's not very good, or the weather's very cold most of the time. I think a prime example would be, for instance, Germany. Germany can have very hot summers, it's true, but they can have very, very cold winters. So, but everybody knows Germany is an excellent place for work, and you can earn good money in Germany. Alina says, no, I mean, I could never live in Canada, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, or Finland. The weather is too cold. Yeah, in those places, you are looking at some really, really cold weather. Canada, I have a relative who lives in Canada, and I know that in Canada, the temperature in the winter can fall to like -30. It's something silly like that, and that's degrees. So can be very cold. So let's have a little look at let's ask some questions here. If you had to, now don't forget had to. Actually, no, let's go with this. One moment. Let's just think about this. Um, have to and must. Are there any places you must visit? And are there any places you have to visit? Now, you might ask yourself, but wait a minute, Richard, what's the difference between must and have to? Sandra says, if I lived in one of these countries, I would choose Canada, especially Vancouver. I have been to Vancouver. It is a lovely place, and I can understand why. If I lived in Canada, I would choose to live in Vancouver as well, actually. So I've asked this question. Are there any places you must visit? Are there any places you have to visit? Now, you might think to yourself, isn't that the same question? Not quite. It's simple. There is a difference between must and have to. Okay, must is it internal. Have to is external. Now, to briefly just explain this, it's, for instance, I must do this for myself. I have to do this because things outside myself are telling me to do this. So, for example, it would be like me saying, "Oh, I must visit uh, let's think. Okay, I must visit Patagonia. It's so high on my list. Okay, it's so high on my list. So, and that's true for me. Patagonia is really high on my list, and that's a must. No one is telling me to go to Patagonia. This is me. But for me, it's one of these things I really, really want to do. So I say I must. However, if I say I have to, this is slightly different. This is because in some way you are being told to go, or this is encouraged that you go. This would be like, for instance, if you said, right, I have to move to Berlin for work. Okay. This would be where you would say, oh gosh, let me write that again because I forgot the two. We can't forget the two. I have to move to Berlin for work. Okay, this is, you would say this, for instance, Berlin might not really be your first choice, second, or even third choice in terms of places or where you would like to live. But the best job and the best places to work in your field is Berlin. Therefore, because of work, you have to move to Berlin. It's going to be better for you. So that is a difference between must and have to. So let me ask you, I'll go back to my question over here. Are there any places you must visit? Are there any places you have to visit? We can always play around with that question. It's a bit like, for instance, I ask you, where do you have to live and work? Where would you like to live? I could even add in ideally live. It's the same sort of thing. So, for instance, I'm at the moment, I could say, for instance, right, I have to live and work in Dublin because because of my studies, for example. I have to live in Malta because that's where my job is. But where would you like to ideally live? Well, this is something different. This is no longer have to. For you, there might be a must, like a really strong, this is a really strong want. One day, you want to do this, and you might be telling yourself, I must do this one day. So for me, where would I ideally like to live? I would always say somewhere in the mountains, like the Alps, like the Italian Dolomites, for example. I'd love to live in the Dolomites. I love the outdoors of the mountains, for example, and you get fantastic, and you can go skiing as well. You've got the culture. So that's the case. That's how you could do it. A leader has said, I must visit my sister in Edinburgh. Excellent. Yeah, your sister's there. You want to see your sister, and this is personal, so this is going to be a must. Absolutely. This sounds more of a must than a have to. And if you haven't been to Edinburgh, then I do recommend going. It's a great city. Edinburgh is a lovely city. Cold. Evelina says, I would like to live in Ireland. Ireland is a nice place. It's wet. Very wet. But having said that, you can, when it's not always wet, I should say. I mean, I can say that my experience in Dublin has been a good one in terms of the weather. I can think of plenty of days where there has been nice weather. The ozone layer over Ireland is a bit thin, so you can get sunburnt really easily over here. And plus, I would say there is something very charming about Ireland, as well as the accent. Leondina says, if I had to move to another country, nice wording there. I would like to live in the northern of in the north. Ah, I see what you've gone for there, Leondina. Really close. The first part of that is excellent. If I had to move to another country, but you've gone with move. So instead of I would like to live, I would say I would live. I would move. I tell you what, the better alternative, I would relocate. That would be even better. It's not that you've got anything really wrong here. I'm just going to push the level of this sentence up. So if I had to move to another country, I would relocate to. I would relocate to North Europe, to Northern Europe. Yeah, then that would be good. And I'm picking on something small there. It's not that your sentence is wrong. I'm just going to say, to make it even better, we would go perhaps with relocate. And that's just because you use the word move. I think that would just push the level of that even higher. But really good sentence, Leondina. Lida says that she would like to live in Australia. Where would I live in Australia? That's a good question. I do like the weather, a hot weather. Ooh, where would I choose to live? My first reaction would be Melbourne. Melbourne was my favorite city when I visited back in 2010. And I have some family actually in Australia, in Melbourne. So I would be very tempted to move to Melbourne if I had to move to if I were moving to Australia, I'd move to Melbourne. Um, Having said that, Perth is a cool place. Now, Perth is on the west coast. I really liked Perth, but it's a bit isolated. I don't know, actually. Australia is a huge place. Sandra says, I must visit Paris second time because I must visit Paris for a second time. You just have to put in that, Sandra, for a second time. Because when I visited Paris in 2019, it was always raining. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, in which case I would suggest definitely go back to Paris. I've been to Paris as well, but it was such a long time ago. I don't have a very good memory of it. So I would like to return to Paris at some point. Irina F says that she would like to live in Madeira, on the Madeira Islands, yes, of Portugal, in Madeira. Well, you've got some great Madeira wine there. Obviously, it's sunny. It's in the Atlantic. Um, yeah, why not? It sounds pretty good to me. It's Now I've been to some islands around there. I've been to the Canary Islands. I have been to the Canary Islands, but I haven't been to Madeira yet. But Madeira as a drink is delicious. Alida says Paris is one of the most beautiful cities that she's ever been to. Um, Paris is beautiful. Yes, this is true. It certainly is. There's certainly a romance. It's a romantic place, of course. The food is, well, everybody knows about French food being really good. And if you like cheese, then it is a fantastic place for cheese. I am aware there are some cheese restaurants, for example. It is, however, not surprising, very expensive. Um, if I went to Paris, I would. What would I do if I went to Paris today? Other than being forced to quarantine for 2 weeks in a hotel. Um, if I went to Paris, okay, I would want to go back to some of the sites that I had been to. I'd go back to the Eiffel Tower. I think if you go to Paris, it would be nice to go to the Eiffel Tower if you have no real memory of it. I remember little bits, but not very much. I didn't go to the top actually. I think I went to the as high as second the second floor. So I'd like to do that. Definitely go to the Louvre, Notre Dame, um, and then I would do one of my favorite things when traveling. Now there's something I really like to do when traveling, and that is getting lost in a city. I love getting lost in a city. Uh, Getting lost in a city is when you start walking around and exploring the place for yourself. So this is when you're not going with a tour guide. You're not with a guide. You're on your own, and you find your area that you want to explore, and then you just start walking, and you choose to explore that area. Everywhere I go, I always do that. I loved it. I did it in, for instance, when I went to South America, I did it in every single place. I had to be careful in Quito. I had to choose the right place. So I went to the old town, a part of Quito called the Old Town, and that was really enjoyable just to walk around. Did it in Cusco. That was nice. Salta as well. I didn't have a chance to do it in La Paz in Bolivia, but some people might tell me that might not have been the best thing to do. I did it in Santiago in Chile. That was lovely. That was nice. Santiago is quite a nice city. Leodina says, that's what happened to me when she visited Vienna in 2019. Vienna! I have not been to Vienna. I haven't been to Austria. And I can't believe I still haven't been to Austria. I've got so many places on my list. There's still some places in South America I want to visit. There's obviously some places in Africa and Asia I'd like to visit. But I think there's a good number of countries in Europe that I want to visit that I haven't visited yet. Austria, Slovenia, Germany, Poland, Denmark, Norway, Iceland, Moldova, I think would be cool. Hungary, Czech Republic. Those are just some countries that come to mind. So I can already think of about 10 countries in Bulgaria, I think Belgium. Do you mean Belgium? Let me know what you mean. I'm not too sure about Belgium. Belgium, that's another one. So I can think of 11 places in Europe that I haven't visited that I really want to visit. And that's Belgium. Yes, Belgium. Yeah, I would like to visit Belgium. And I've done a lot of traveling. So actually, come to think of it, I could still do. I have a list actually. Leonidina says it's great. It's a great city where you can get lost. Where you can get lost yourself. Really close. It's a great city where you can lose yourself in. Um, yeah, when you lose yourself in a place, it means your mind is there. You get completely taken in. You're in by the city, so you're walking around, you're looking, you're enjoying. You're not put it this way: you're not looking at your watch. You're not interested in the time. You're not looking at your phone, waiting for someone to call. You're really enjoying the experience. That's what it means to lose yourself in something. It means you really enjoy the experience. Evelina says, which European country did you like the most? Great question. Okay. Out of the countries in Europe, I have been to, okay, obviously, we'll include the United Kingdom as just one. There's Ireland, France, Holland, Italy, Switzerland, Spain, Portugal, Malta, Greece. I'm probably forgetting a country. But out of those that I've mentioned, I would say Italy. And that's because of my time in Florence, I would say. Yeah, I would say Florence. Well, I would say Italy. Having said that, I mean, I got to know Malta. I've got to know Malta for a long. Actually, no, I know Malta really well, and Malta is a small place, but Malta's a fun place to live. Um, it's a really enjoyable place to spend time in. Yes, it's small, but it's such a social place. You get to know people quite quickly. It's easy to get around. You can walk to a lot of places. It's not difficult to eat. It's easy to eat well. It's easy to find nice places to. I mean, in the summer, it's just wonderful. So I mean, Malta is a really, really good place. It's a safe place as well. So I would say Malta is actually one of those places where if you ever end up living in Malta and you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to go and live in Malta for 6 months, don't be surprised if you end up living in Malta not just for 6 months, but 6 months becomes a year, 2 years, or maybe even 3 years. For me, it went from 3 months to 8 years. That's what happened to me with Malta. I went to Malta for 3 months, and I was thinking of moving to Australia, actually. And 8 years later, I found myself still in Malta. So it's one of those places that if you go, it's very charming and you can quickly sort of really enjoy yourself. It Your social scene will make a huge difference. The more you get involved in the social scene in Malta, the more likely you're going to want to stay there for longer, because it's a very nice lifestyle. You can have a very nice lifestyle in Malta. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you like the video if you've enjoyed it, and if you're new, subscribe. Do you miss the UK? Ah, that's a good question. I nearly automatically said no. um, I miss the people in the UK. I miss certain things about the UK. I don't miss the weather. Um, I miss my family, obviously. I miss some very, very close friends. I've got some fantastic friends in the UK, and I do miss the options that you have living in a place like the UK. Like when I lived in the UK, I could go and watch Manchester United, for instance, at Old Trafford if I wanted to. I could go and see my friends. So I miss that. And I do miss the English pub. There is something very special about an English pub. But I can't say at the moment I miss the UK a huge amount, for two reasons. The first reason is probably the weather, but that does depend where you live. The south of England, you can have a lot of nice weather. Unfortunately, the second reason is probably just more to do with the political climate of Brexit. It's not I think that might be another reason for me. It's a bit of a sad period in that sense. But that's because, as much as I'm British, I've always seen myself as European, and I like that element. Anyway, so thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Tomorrow, instead of a conversational lesson, we're going to have a closer look at modal verbs. I'm guessing everybody, I'm guessing most of you are okay with a 4:30 start from next week. So from next week, lessons will be at 4:30 Maltese time or Central European time. Alida said, okay, so Leondina says, thank you, Richard. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Leondina. Thank you very much for joining. Alida says, English pubs are great. Thanks, Richard. See you soon. Thank you, Alida. Evelina says, thanks. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Evelina. Sandra says, thank you very much, Richard. You're welcome. Thank you. And Arena F says, thanks. Take care of yourself. You're welcome. Thank you. Take care, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow, same time. But next week, it will be from 4:30. Okay, guys, take care. See you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Bye for now. And thank you to everybody in the live chat for your wonderful participation. There have been many of you today, and thank you to all of you. You make the lesson what it is. Bye for now.